Joining me now via Skype is Capitals beat writer Katie Carrera. Katie, welcome back to Post Sports Live. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime, John.
Katie, first thing I wanted to know about, what stood out to you about the way that this house cleaning went down?
I think this was probably a necessary process for the Capitals and for Ted Leonsis and team president Dick Patrick to go through sort of and break down the organization, interview everybody, talk to everybody, and sort of take stock of where things are, because this was a thorough autopsy, if you will, of every sort of corner of the organization. Yes, it took 2 weeks to reach the decision that George McPhee and Adam Oates wouldn't be returning next year, but one would hope that this gave them a better idea of what direction they need to head into and sort of what kind of perspective they want in terms of a new general manager and coach coming in.
Katie, is the number one question for a prospective new general manager or a head coach how they would manage Alex Ovechkin?
If it's not number one, it's at least 1, 2, or 3. Because Alex Ovechkin is who the Capitals have built their organization on the ice and off around, coming up with a plan of the type of team you want to build with him in it, what you want to ask him to do, whether or not a coach wants to try to continue pushing him towards that well-rounded two-way type of player, or if they're going to say, you know what, go score your 51 goals and we'll worry about the rest of the team around you and try to give you the environment where you can score goals, but we're not counting on you in your own end, and maybe find a balance that way. I think figuring out how prospective general managers and coaches approach using and building the team around Alex Ovechkin, because he's not going anywhere anytime soon, or that certainly seems to be the indication right now, is critical.
Is it possible then that, given Ovechkin's reputation, that he could actually discourage certain candidates for either a head coach or GM position from taking or throwing their hat in the ring for the Caps job, given his polarizing nature with head coaches in the past?
I think it's certainly possible, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it past various general manager and coaching candidates to look at him as a challenge they want to try to take on, because who wouldn't really want to be the guy that can help Alex Ovechkin and the Caps get over the hump? But there could be some folks that say, you know what, maybe this is a headache I don't want to deal with.
The last 3 head coaches, Katie, obviously were first-time NHL head coaches. Do you expect that trend to change now?
It's very hard to predict a coach before there's a general manager, or if you don't really know sort of what order they're going to do the hiring process in. I think they could use an experienced voice there. All of the 5 coaches George McPhee hired were first-time NHL head coaches. I think they need someone who has that authority, that experience, has been through a lot in the NHL already to earn that instant respect.
You were at George McPhee's exit interview, so to speak, yesterday out of Kettler. Do you agree with him when he says that the current roster is a playoff roster and with a few minor adjustments could be a Stanley Cup team?
I think if the Capitals had been healthy, if they had just a little more depth this year, they probably would have found a way to squeak into the playoffs. It wasn't as though that they were 10 points out. When he talks about not needing a significant overhaul for this team to truly contend for a championship, I can see that. They need defensive depth, they need top 4 defensive depth, and they need some extra help down the middle of the lineup at center. And I think with those 2 things alone, you could help push the Capitals substantially in a positive direction. Now, would that completely get them over the hump? I don't know. But just shoring up those 2 things, center depth and getting some elite defensive help, would definitely go a long way to making them not only a playoff team, but closer to a contender.
Well, Katie, thanks for your coverage. Thanks for joining us today. We'll look forward to hearing from you again on the show in the coming weeks as there are some hires made.
Yep, anytime.
Thanks, Katie.